Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Greg's Sports. Today is Friday, so we're going to be doing starts and sits for every matchup this week. We're going to be talking about each team, who I like on each team to start, who I would sit, and talking about some injuries and other news along the way. But without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with the Broncos and the Falcons game. So on the Broncos side, you got Drew Lock at quarterback. He is a potential streaming quarterback if you don't have a better option this week. Atlanta's Falcons defense is pretty poor in terms of pass defense, so he's definitely somebody you could play if you need to. I know in one of my leagues I have to because Matt Stafford is on the COVID list now. If you need to play him, you can. If you don't, then obviously don't. Melvin Gordon, you can start, kind of a running back 2. Philip Lindsay, you could probably start as a running back, low-end running back 2, flex play type of guy as well. Tim Patrick, if he plays, he's a guy I like a lot this week, honestly. I think he's a decent wide receiver 3, flex play option if he plays. Jerry Jeudy, it's a good matchup, but he just hasn't shown me enough this year, so I'm not going to trust him. I'm going to sit him. Noah Fant, you can start in this one. Broncos defense is going to be a sit. And once again, we're not going to talk too much about the kickers. Most of them are pretty steady week to week, and you should be able to tell from there. And then we have Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's a start in this one. Todd Gurley is also a start, kind of a running back 2, middle running back 2 type of guy. Julio Jones is a must start. Calvin Ridley looks like he's not going to play. He does have that foot sprain, so he's going to be a sit. Russell Gage is a sleeper guy, but he's not somebody I really trust, so I'm going to sit him as well. Hayden Hurst I do like this week, especially with Calvin Ridley out, so I would start him unless you have a better option. Falcons defense you're going to be sitting. Then the next game we got is the Bills and the Seahawks. Josh Allen we're going to start this week. Seahawks defense hasn't been too good overall. Devin Singletary you could probably start as like a flex play, but he's not somebody I'm excited about. Zach Moss, I think you can start pretty confidently as a running back 2 type of option. Seattle's defense isn't that great, and I think it's a matchup that he's going to take advantage of. Stephon Diggs, he's a must start this week going against poor pass defense. Then we got John Brown, he's going to be a sit. Gabriel Davis is a sit. Cole Beasley, you could start in this matchup if you're in a PPR league and you need somebody to fill in at the end of your lineup. Dawson Knox does return from the COVID list, but he's still going to be a sit. Bills defense is going to be a sit in this one as well. Then for the Seahawks side, we got Russell Wilson. He's a must start every week. Seattle Seahawks running backs. Carlos Hyde's out once again. Chris Carson's a kind of a game time decision. He's going to try to practice today. He's going to try to do some stuff tomorrow before they leave on the plane. We'll see if he's a go or not. If he doesn't play, I think you can roll DJ Dallas out once again. If Carson does play, you can play Carson. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they're both starts. Greg Olsen, Will Disley, any tight end there. They're going to be sits until somebody really takes over. Seahawks defense is going to be a sit. Then we got the Titans and the Bears. So in this one, Ryan Tannehill, he's a low-end quarterback 1 this week. Bears defense is above average, but I think Tannehill's still good temp to get it done. You shouldn't be benching him for guys that aren't as good as him. Then we have Derrick Henry. He's a must start. A.J. Brown's a start. Tamper your expectations for him this week is Kyle Fuller will be covering him most of the time, I would assume. Corey Davis, he's a start for me this week. I actually do like his matchup against Jalen Johnson. And he's been seeing 10 targets in back-to-back weeks, so I think he's definitely somebody you can roll out kind of as a wide receiver 3, flex play type of option. And then we have Adam Humphries. He looks like he's not going to play this week, so he's going to be a sit. And Jonnu Smith, he's kind of like a borderline. He's a low-end tight end 1. If he scores, he's going to do well for you. If he doesn't score, he's probably not going to help you too much. Titans defense, you could stream in this matchup. They haven't been too great overall. But the Bears' offensive line is missing due to COVID, or at least part of them. And the Bears' offense hasn't been really clicking on all cylinders either. Nick Foles is going to be a sit, unless you're in a 2-quarterback or a super flex league. David Montgomery, you can start as a running back 2. Allen Robinson is a start. Anthony Miller, Darnell Mooney. I know some people are talking Mooney up this week, especially because of the Titans allowing a lot of passing yards, but I just don't see it this week. I don't know if there's enough volume, so I'm going to be setting both them until I see more from them. Jimmy Graham, like you could play him. It's not the worst matchup in the world. Low-end tight end 1. But once again, he's kind of like Jonnu Smith. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to help you. Bears defense, I would try to pivot here. You could probably play them. They probably won't hurt you, but they're not going to help you. Then we got the Ravens and the Colts. And we got Lamar Jackson. He's a start. Mark Ingram looks like he's not going to play once again with that ankle sprain. So he's going to be a sit. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they're both low-end running back 2/flex plays for me. If you need to play them, you can. If you don't need to play them, obviously play your other option. Colts run defense is very good overall, so just don't expect too much from these guys. Marquise Brown, he's going to be a sit. I know there's been a lot going on about him that he's not getting the ball enough. Maybe they'll try to throw him the ball more. It's a good matchup for him, but he just hasn't been consistent enough to trust this year. Mark Andrews, you can play in this one. You're pretty much playing him every week. He's going to help you a lot some weeks, and he's going to hurt you some weeks. Ravens defense, you can play in this one. Should be pretty good against Phillip Rivers turning the ball over himself. I don't think it's going to be a good game for Phillip Rivers overall. And with that being said, for me, Phillip Rivers is definitely a sit. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Jordan Wilkins. These are the running backs. Taylor didn't look too good last week. Wilkins did. Hines obviously scored twice, so that helped him out a lot. I'm not starting Hines in this matchup. He's going to be a sit for me. Taylor and Wilkins, we'll have to keep an eye on the reports going into the game, see what they're saying. But I would consider both them kind of low-end running back 2/flex plays. So if you need to play them, you can. If you don't, obviously don't. Colts wide receivers, I'm not excited about starting anyone in this group this week. T.Y. Hilton is going to probably miss with a groin injury. So that definitely hurts them. We'll have to see if somebody can step up and lead the way. Last week, Phillip Rivers did move the ball around a lot to a lot of different receivers. So we'll just have to see if it's more of the same or if he hones in on one guy more this week. Trey Burton, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, it's kind of the same way. Burton's the guy I prefer at tight end here if I have to play somebody. He's kind of low in tight end 1. He does have a rushing touchdown in 2 straight games. So if that continues, that gives him a safe floor at least. Then we have the Colts defense. They're kind of like the Bears defense I mentioned before. You can play them. They're pretty good defense. They're probably not going to hurt you, but they're probably not going to help you at the same time. Then we got the Chiefs and the Panthers. So the Chiefs side, we're going to start Patrick Mahomes. You're going to start Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back 2 type of guy. Good matchup for him against the Panthers. And Le'Veon Bell is more like a very, very low-end running back 2 or a flex play at best. If you're playing in a PPR league, maybe you can use him in your flex if you need a bye week filler if you got some injuries. Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, and Sammy Watkins now is probably going to be back as well. I'm not trusting any of these guys this week. They're all going to be sits for me. Just kind of depends on who gets the volume. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, obviously you're going to start those 2 guys. The Chiefs defense, you could probably play in this one if you need to. You don't have a clear better option. But there are some good streaming defenses out there this week, so you're probably not going to need to play them. On the Panthers side, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a sit. He did get banged up last week. We'll have to see how that affects him going forward. Christian McCaffrey is expected to be back this week, so he's going to be a start. Mike Davis, if you have him, you're sitting him, you're keeping him on your bench. You're not dropping him because if McCaffrey comes up with a setback or anything like that, he's going to be very valuable again. DJ Moore, I see a lot of people saying they don't want to start DJ Moore just because he had 2 catches last week. They're playing the Chiefs. They're going to be behind. They're going to have to throw the ball, which is going to make him get volume. If DJ Moore gets volume, he is a smash play. He's so talented. I don't know why they're not throwing the ball to him more, but that's a whole nother topic. But he's definitely a start for me. Robbie Anderson's kind of a start as well. Like I said, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Curtis Samuel, a lot of people are hyping him up after his big week last week. He just got lucky with 2 touchdowns, honestly. He's not somebody I want to play unless you're in a deep, deep league. Ian Thomas is obviously a sit. Panthers defense is obviously a sit against the Chiefs as well. Then we got the Lions and the Vikings. Big news here was Matt Stafford's been placed on the COVID list. There is a chance he could play in this game, but if he doesn't, it's going to be Chase Daniel. If it's Chase Daniel, you're obviously sitting both him and Stafford. Adrian Peterson, DeAndre Swift, they're very low-end running back 2s, flex plays. They do have some volatility to them. You can play them if you need to. If you're in PPR, Swift is obviously the preferred choice. Kenny Galladay looks like he's going to be out in this one, so he's a sit. Marvin Jones, if Matt Stafford plays, you can play Marvin Jones. If Matt Stafford doesn't play, I'd probably try to pivot to somewhere else. Hawkinson's kind of the same way, but I think Hawkinson's a little bit safer with Chase Daniel. I think he'll get the targets to matter enough, especially at the tight end position, which is a little bit weaker. Lions defense is a sit. Then on the Vikings side, Kirk Cousins, it is a good matchup for him, but if Matt Stafford's not playing, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to get enough volume to matter. He would be a sit then. Dalvin Cook's obvious start. Adam Thielen is a start. Justin Jefferson is kind of borderline for me. If you need to play him, you can. If you got a better option, just roll your better option out there. Just depends on if he gets enough volume in this one. Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr., I don't expect either one of them to have enough volume to matter, so they're both going to be sits. Vikings defense, low-key could be a streamable option. They're not great overall this season, but if Chase Daniel plays, there's a chance they could put up some decent points, but it's not one that I'm going to really go after. Then we got the Giants and the Washington football team. Giants side, we got Daniel Jones. He's obviously a set, 2 turnover prone to trust any week. Wayne Gallman, Deion Lewis. You can throw in Devonta Freeman. You can throw in Alfred Morris in this group too. I am not starting any single one of these running backs. Just too much volatility. You can't trust them unless you're in a deep league, unless you have a bunch of injuries. Then maybe you can run one of them out there. But at this point, you can't trust any of them. And Darius Slayton, you could probably start him if you're like in a deeper league and you need to, but I probably would try to avoid him. Sterling Shepard's more like a wide receiver 3 or a flex play option this week. If you need to play him, you can. If you don't, obviously you don't. Golden Tate, he's going to be a sit for me. He was sent home on Wednesday from practice because he's having a lot of disputes with the team, or his wife is on Twitter. So that's just a situation of foul. I wouldn't trust him this week. To start, Evan Ingram, he's a low-end tight end 1. He's going to get targets, but the thing is he doesn't do anything with them. So like if you just need a safe guy in PPR, he could be all right. But if you want a guy with a little bit more upside, I'd look elsewhere. Giants defense is streamable in this one. They did pretty well against Washington the first time they played. Kyle Allen is somebody you want to avoid unless you're in a 2-quarterback or super flex league. J.D. McKissick, if you're in PPR formats, you can do a lot worse than him. He's a great bye-week filler if that's what you need, or you just need a low-end flex play that's got a safe floor. Antonio Gibson's a start. Terry McLaurin's a start. Logan Thomas is a start. He's somebody I kind of like this week. He does have an ankle injury that he's been playing through in practice. Looks like he's going to play, so he should be all right. Washington defense is a very good streamer this week. Like I said, Daniel Jones turns the ball over a lot. So they're definitely an option you want to consider this week if you're looking for a defense. Next up, we got the Texans and the Jaguars. If you guys don't already know, Texans are my favorite team. This is not a game I'm really excited about. I think the Texans should win, but it could be ugly. Deshaun Watson, you're going to start him. David Johnson's a running back 2. Duke Johnson, you're going to sit. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, you can start both of them in this matchup. Darren Fells and Jordan Akins, you're going to set both of them. Looks like Jordan Akins is finally going to be back this week from his ankle and concussion injuries. Texans defense, a lot of people talk about these Texans defense as a streamable option because they're going against a rookie quarterback from the 6th-round pick, Jake Luton. Texans defense is not good. They're going to be without their second-best player, Whitney Merciless, this week. He's on the COVID list. So I do not expect the Texans defense to do much. They've had negative points pretty much every week, besides the first time they played Jacksonville. But that's a whole other story. I think Jacksonville's going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to try to protect the ball. So it's not a matchup I'm excited about by any means. Jake Luton's obviously a sit. Rookie making his first career start. You don't want to play him. James Robinson's a start. DJ Chark I would start this week. The other 2 wide receivers I'd sit. We kind of want to see where Jake Luton's going to throw the ball to. It could be Chark, could be Shenault, could be Cole, could be somebody else. I honestly don't know at this point. Chark would be the one with the most upside, so I'd play him. But the other 2 I'd sit. And then Tyler Eifert, the week before the bye, he was injured and didn't play. This week it looks like he's practicing full now. He should be a good go. He's the guy that could have some sneaky upside if Jake Luton is a quarterback that throws to the tight end. Young rookie quarterbacks in general throw to the tight end position. So Eifert could have a little bit of value in the coming weeks, but he's not somebody we can trust this week going forward. Jaguars defense is a sit. We got the Raiders and the Chargers. Derek Carr, he's a borderline guy. He's a low-end quarterback 1, high-end quarterback 2 type of guy. If you don't have a better option, you can roll him out. Shouldn't be a bad matchup for him by any means. Josh Jacobs is a start. Just keep an eye on him. He's had a little bit of a knee injury and an illness this week. So if he doesn't play for whatever reason, go out and pivot to Devontae Booker as soon as possible. Henry Ruggs, Nelson Aguilar, they're both going to be sits for me this week. I think Aguilar probably has the higher upside, but he did get goose egg last week. They're both very target dependent in order to have a good day. I think this game turns into a shootout, and one of these guys will have some value. But they're more like DFS plays that you want to play at this point in time. Darren Waller, he's pretty much one of the safest tight ends there is, so you're going to start him. Raiders defense is a sit. Chargers side, we got Justin Herbert. He's going to be a start. Should be a good matchup for him. Justin Jackson, we're going to start. Joshua Kelly, Tremaine Pope, we're going to set both these guys. Pope's been banged up. I know he had a good week last week. Kelly's really fallen off the map, so he's going to be a sit as well. Mike Williams, he could have a good game in this one. He hasn't had enough targets besides last week and the week Keenan Allen was out. So I don't trust him enough to start him this week, so he's going to be a sit for me. Keenan Allen, I'll start. Hunter Henry is somebody I'm not excited about starting, honestly. In our start set article for this week with the Podcasting Network, he was my tight end set of the week. He's not been good lately, and he's only scored 1 touchdown this year. So if you have a better option, just go find your better option because he's not going to help you probably this week. Chargers defense is going to be a sit as well. Then we got the Cowboys and the Steelers. This one could get very ugly in the game overall. On the Cowboys side, we're not sure who's going to start at quarterback. We know it's not going to be Andy Dalton. We know it's not going to be Dak Prescott. They said it's not going to be Ben DiNucci again. So now we're down to Cooper Rush and Garrett Gilbert. I think it's going to end up being Cooper Rush. He has more experience with the offense, even if they just brought him back like about a week ago. He's been around with the Cowboys for about 3 years before that. He's familiar with the offense, and I think he probably gives them the best chance to win out of any of these 3 quarterbacks. With that being said, I don't think the Cowboys have any chance to win this game, but he's probably the one that would have the best performance. With all that being said, he's still a sit this week against a tough Steelers defense. This is essentially his first NFL start. Then we got Ezekiel Elliott. He was banged up a little bit this week. I expect him to play, so I'll start him. If he doesn't play, you could obviously play Tony Pollard. Then the Dallas wide receivers, I'm just avoiding all 3 of these guys. We're not sure who the quarterback's going to be. We're not sure who the quarterback's going to throw to, so I'm going to set all of them. Dalton Schultz, you could start if you need to, but I'm probably avoiding him this week. Cowboys defense is obviously a sit. On the opposite side, Roethlisberger's a start. Cowboys defense hasn't been good pretty much all year. James Conner's a start. You can probably start all 3 of these Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers and be all right. 1 or 2 of them probably have a big game. Hopefully the other one gets enough volume to still be relevant. Eric Ebron, I'm comfortable starting him this week. He has a pretty safe floor, and that's usually about 4 or 5 catches, 50 yards. But then if he gets that touchdown, that's where he puts you over the edge. Steelers' defense is obviously a smash play in this one. Then we got the Cardinals and the Dolphins. Kyler Murray is an obvious start. Kenyon Drake, he does have that ankle injury. He said he's trending in the right direction, but it's unlikely he plays this week, so he's going to be a sit. Chase Edmonds is a start. He's a pretty solid running back too this week, actually. And then we have DeAndre Hopkins. You can start him. I would tamper your expectations because he's probably going to go against Xavier Howard or Byron Jones most of the game. And he's going to be targeted a lot. It just kind of depends on how many catches he ends up with. Christian Kirk is somebody I'm avoiding in this game because he's going to face Jones or Howard, whoever Hopkins doesn't face. So it's not a positive matchup for him. Larry Fitzgerald's kind of a sleeper for me. If you're in a deep PPR league and you need somebody to throw into your last wide receiver, your last flex spot, he might not be the worst play in the world this week. The Dolphins have struggled against slot wide receivers. That's primarily where Larry Fitzgerald plays. I would not be surprised if he ends up with 6 catches or so. So if he gets you 6 catches and like 70 yards in PPR, that's 13 points. Definitely not going to hurt your team. Then we got the Cardinals defense. This is my favorite streaming defense of the week. Going against Tua in his second career start, I think they're going to eat him alive. Dolphins are going to be without Myles Gaskin as well. So I think it's a very positive matchup for the Cardinals. Then on the Dolphins side, we got Tua. Tua's going to be a set for me. Like I said, I don't expect much out of him in this game. I didn't expect much out of him last game. He didn't do much last game either. So he's going to have some of them rookie mistakes, especially in this game. A lot of people are talking about Matt Breida as the starting running back with Myles Gaskin out. Breida and Howard are both going to be around there. Breida has been banged up himself in practice. If he doesn't play, I think Jordan Howard's probably a smash play this week. I know a lot of people are hyping up Patrick Laird, but we saw what Patrick Laird was last year, and unless you're in a PPR league, you don't want to touch that guy. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Mike Gesicki, I'm starting all of these guys. Until we figure out who Tua wants to throw to and who's going to be making an impact on this team, we can't trust any of these players at all. Dolphins defense, you probably want to avoid them this week. They've been pretty good overall, but you just want to avoid them. Then we got the Saints and the Buccaneers, so we got Drew Brees. He's going to be a start in this one. Just tamper your expectations for him. He's a low-end quarterback one, but I think he'll have a decent game. And then we got Alvin Kamara. He's obviously a start. He's one of the best running backs in fantasy. Latavius Murray is a sit. Michael Thomas is a start if he plays. But if he does play, just tamper your expectations. Goes against a pretty good defense. It's his first game back. He hasn't played in like 8 weeks. So we just want to see what happens when he's actually out on the field. Emmanuel Sanders looks like he should be back from the COVID list. He's going to be a sit for me. Traquan Smith's also a sit. Jared Cook is a sit as well. Saints defense, you can play in this one. Just kind of tamper your expectations. Both defenses are very good, but both offenses are still very good as well. The Buccaneers side, we got Tom Brady. He's a start for me. Pretty much like the same thing I said with Drew Brees, honestly. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. I'm trying to avoid both these players if I can. But if you need to play them, like as your running back 2, low-end running back 2 flex play, you can. Just take it with a grain of salt. We don't know which one's going to end up getting more carries and be more involved in the game overall. If you're in PPR, it might be Fournette. He's been kind of the pass-catching back, which, as weird as it sounds to say, it's been true. Jones fumbled last week, then Fournette took over, but Fournette didn't do much in that game, so we'll just have to see how it all shakes out. I feel all right about starting Mike Evans in this game. Obviously, you've got Chris Godwin that could be playing. I don't think he ends up playing this week, so he's going to be a sit. Antonio Brown, his first game in Tampa Bay, I honestly don't expect too much from him. Bruce Arians said he doesn't even know how much he's going to play, so he's a sit for me. Like, there is an upside for a boom, but the bust potential is too high. I'd rather not take that risk. Scotty Miller, I'm going to sit as well. Rob Gronkowski, I think you can start Gronk in this game and be all right. Tampa Bay defense is pretty much like the Saints defense. You can play them. They're probably not going to hurt you, but they're not going to help you either at this week. Then last but not least, we got probably the most exciting game of the week. And by exciting, I mean not really exciting. So we got Sam Darnold. He's going to be a sit. Frank Gore, the Michael Pirine. One of these guys could have a good week. The Patriots' run defense has been pretty poor overall. But unless you're in a deep league or unless you're desperate, I'm not starting either of these guys. Brashard Perriman, he's still got that concussion, and the way it's looking is he might not play again this week. Denzel Mims, he's a guy, like you might be able to play him, but I wouldn't trust him. Jamison Crowder is going to try to practice today. We'll have to see if that happens or not, but if he doesn't practice today, I wouldn't expect him to play. If he practices today, maybe he plays. If he plays, you can start him, but if he doesn't play, you definitely can't start him. You might want to look at Braxton Berrios taking over in his spot. He, at least in PPR, he could get you a decent amount of points, a pretty safe floor. Chris Herndon, he's been god-awful this year. I don't even want to talk about him. So he's a sit. He was a guy that a lot of people were hyping up going into the year. I was a lot lower on Chris Herndon than a lot of people, and I got a lot of slack for it, but like he hasn't done anything, so it looks like I was kind of right in that regards. Then the Jets defense is going to be a sit. Sam Ficken, the kicker, did miss last week. I don't think you were counting on him, but looks like he'll be back this week. Just keep an eye on it. Then on the Patriots side of the ball, you can probably play Cam Newton in this one. He hasn't looked too good this year outside of the first couple games, outside of running the ball. The Jets defense is nothing special overall. Just consider Cam Newton more like a low-end quarterback 1. For the Patriots running backs, I'm mainly looking at Damian Harris this week. You can start him against the Jets defense. Should have a pretty decent game there. N'Keal Harry looks like he's going to miss once again. So this is good news for my buddy Jacoby Myers. He is somebody I was pretty high on. I mentioned him last week on Twitter, just saying, hey, I think he's going to have a really good game. Led the team in targets, receptions, yards as well. Scored on a 2-point conversion. He is by far their best wide receiver left and maybe their best wide receiver overall on their team. I know Julian Edelman's on IR, but N'Keal Harry hasn't looked good, so it could be the Myers show for the rest of the year, honestly. Damiere Byrd is somebody you don't want to touch. He's going to be on the field a lot, but you just can't trust him. Ryan Izzo's pretty much the same way. And then you got the Patriots defense. You can play them. It's the Jets, so you can start them. But that's pretty much it for all the starts and sits for the matchups this week. I think it's a pretty solid week overall. I think there's a lot of good starts, sits, and options out there. If you guys have any questions about players to start, players to sit, people that are on waivers, if you should pick them up over somebody you already have, feel free to leave them down in the comments. If you need to reach out to me for any reason at all, whether it's start sit advice, trade advice, waivers, anything like that, feel free to do so, whether it's down in the comments, at my email, coachcraigsports@gmail.com, on Twitter at coachcraigsport, or on the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page. If you guys liked and enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. And that's one for you, the viewers, helping you guys with your fantasy football teams this season, helping you enjoy the season more, and helping to bring some championship trophies that you can put up on your mantle. But with that being said, that's all we got for today's video. Hope you guys all enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.